Так вот, парни, девчонки, все, кто нас смотрит, сейчас будем говорить со Стеллой. Стелла работает в Shopify. Если вы знаете, Shopify, камон, это люди, которые приносят один из самых значимых контрибьютов и в Rails, и в Ruby. И вот сейчас у нас будет время, чтобы спросить у одной из разработчиц Shopify все, что угодно. Стелла, hi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stella. I'm sorry, I only speak English and Spanish. So I hope we have a good time today here talking English. I'm currently from Colombia. I'm based in Canada at the moment, in Vancouver. I have been working as a software engineer for more than a decade, and now I work as a senior software developer at Shopify. I also organize a Ruby conference. It's called RubyConf Colombia, and I organize Rails with Vancouver.
Yep. And I should add something to our Russian viewers. Чуваки, вы можете задавать вопрос как на английском, так и на русском. С Божьей помощью я перейду на английский и спрошу его у Стеллы. So, Stella, the first question would be very interesting and very, well, very difficult as far as I'm concerned. Is Ruby dead?
Yeah, it's a very common question. No, not even close. I think there is a common perception of in our industry that if a language have been around for a while, then it's gonna dead at some point. It's gonna be dead at some point. So Ruby was released, I don't know, 1995, I think. So it has been around for a while, and there is a lot of new technologies and new frameworks that comes competition, but it's totally normal and it's good. It's very good to have competition because you challenge each other. Like it's like when companies are competing the same with the language. Like if there is a new language that is faster or have a new feature, you're gonna challenge the Ruby community. Like, hey, we need to move Ruby forward. So I think Ruby and the framework Ruby on Rails, they are both still like a great choice for building web applications. There is still a lot of startups and a lot of big companies like I don't know, SoundCloud, Shopify, GitHub, GitLab, Airbnb still using Ruby, and they won't migrate to the latest new framework, fancy language in one day or two. The community still maintains, like you can see Ruby on Rails and the other frameworks as well being updated regularly. So that is a good signal for open source that it's going to continue being around for a while. And the community is always growing. I organize conference and events, and I can see them always so loud and full. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, thank you. So, guys, attention, Ruby is not dead. Attention, Ruby is definitely not dead by any means. All right, so the next question would be Shopify. From the chat, from our viewers, Shopify said that in 2029, it will hire 2021. In 2021, he'll hire 2021 Rubies.
Yes.
So that didn't happen?
We are still in it. It's still 2021. So if you are curious, like this is my promotional card. If you're curious about Shopify, if you are interested, we are hiring a lot. Still, we are hiring for front and back end, infrastructure, management, data, anything. So we are in a very good track to hitting the goal, but we still have some position left. And it's still November 25, so we still have a month to get there. So, yeah.
Okay, sure. So I will add a question. It's obvious that right now we are living in a shortage of IT people in the whole world. So are you struggle with hiring at this moment? I mean, do you have any difficulties hiring enough Rubists and enough Rubists for your purpose?
Yeah, like the shortage of talent is a reality. Luckily at Shopify, we don't have trouble hiring Rubyges. We hire also people that doesn't know Ruby, but know how to code and know how to solve problems, and then we get them up to speed into Ruby on Rails. Like, we strongly believe that if you already know how to code and know how to solve problems, like adopting a new language or a new framework is not a big impediment to get the role.
Okay. All right. So Shopify is a very big company. So, I mean, big company equals to huge load, to high loads. How do you think, is Ruby capable of dealing with such a high load Shopify provides?
Yeah, it's a very good timing question. Like, we have an American tradition. I live in Canada, but it affects us. Most of the countries around, like, I'm from Colombia, and we also live Black Friday. So Black Friday in America is tomorrow. It is the big time for Shopify to test the load. We handle millions of transactions. It is the time of the year where we see the highest load to the system. Yes, Ruby can handle that. I think, like, Ruby has a reputation of slowness, but as a personal opinion, I have seen like so many monoliths in my experience, and there is also a different way how you implement Ruby. So Ruby lets you implement things in a different way, and you can make it slower or you can make it faster. It depends on how you use the language. So the language, of course, has limitations. Like, I won't say, oh, Ruby is the language you can use for everything. You need to choose the right tool for the right solution that you're trying to get. But if you choose Ruby, you can make things to make it support load. Like, you can revisit your queries, you can see what columns on your database are not indexed, that is not related to the language, but can affect performance. You can catch things that you can do things in a job, you can start dieting on dependencies, because sometimes you start adding a lot of dependencies, and what does make is affect your performance. As our programmers, we need to know the difference between what is ON and O1. Because if you can do the same code in accessing in O1 time, it's gonna, of course, affect very positive the performance of your application. So I think, yes, there is many factors that are gonna affect that. It's not only the language, but we can handle a high load.
Really, I can't agree more with this. So once again, guys, attention, Ruby is capable of dealing with any load you can provide. So it's okay. And the next question would be, how many Ruby developers works in Shopify? Do you communicate with developers outside of your team?
There are thousands of developers, so there is a lot. From Ruby specifically, because we also have, as I mentioned, we have front-end developers, we have mobile developers, we have infrastructure developers. From Ruby developers, I can say it's like 1,000 something. Yes, we do communicate with each other. I cannot tell you that I have talked to everyone because it's impossible. But of course, there is some kind of coordination that you need to do to get to some projects, because everything is connected, right? So we're trying to solve a problem for the customer, and the customer doesn't know, oh, this is just this team, or this is just this team. We can need to come together to give the best experience. So yes, we communicate with each other.
Okay, and we have next question from the chat. It's very interesting, especially for me. So, do you have a separate, one separate or numerous separate engineering teams to work with your open source stuff, like you do quite a lot for Ruby community, for Rails community, make a lot of contributions to the open source of any kind. So, do you have any like separate teams for these purposes?
Yes, we do. I am not in that team, but I have a friend in that team. So yes, we do have a Ruby team that is dedicated only to define the future of Rails at Shopify, to contribute to open source. We have members of the Rails core team, and also from the Ruby, some of them are Ruby contributors. So they dedicate the time to that. Is a way for the company to pay back to the community and to the framework.
If it's not a secret, how much people doing this?
I really don't know.
Okay, it's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
So the next question from the chat, which is interesting for me too. How many parts of Shopify you started rewriting to the Golang, or have plans to do so?
I think I read when I was onboarding, there was some things on Golang, but I am not familiar with some of the things, to be honest.
So it's like not very much, like some really tiny parts.
No.
Okay. Next question from the chat. Does Ruby have a future in the world of graphics applications, while Ruby is only featured for the web and CLI application?
Yes, I think since the use cases mostly are companies, like mostly SaaS companies, there is a lot of documentation and progress and libraries and gems oriented to that specifically. And it is like when a language chooses a niche to develop, then the libraries grow around that niche. If you see, for example, Python, like they have a niche in machine learning, so you will see like a lot of libraries are built around that. So we didn't choose that niche in Ruby, but like I think there's also like an opportunity there if there is someone that is seeing potential on what we can do in graphics on Ruby and create libraries or explore that area.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next question would be about about generally junior developers. Do you have a lot of junior developers at Shopify, and how do you see? Do you need a lot of junior developers, or do you really need any junior developers at Shopify?
Of course, we do. We do have junior developers. We hire junior developers. We need them.
Why? I mean, junior developers, they are developers, of course, but like very little ones. They need to grow. So why do you need them at Shopify?
Yeah, like I think it's important for everyone to have a chance to grow. Like there is no senior developers if you don't believe and grow these junior developers. So Shopify has a program. We have two, but there is one for interns. So there's a lot of interns and on every team, and every quarter, every new season, there is a lot of new interns coming on. There is a lot of them that get hired junior and then grow their career inside Shopify. So
okay,
it's very important for not only for Shopify, but for any company to give the opportunity for juniors and grow them. I think even with startups, small startups, like if you give the opportunity to a junior developer to join, and growth with your product, it's gonna be a good investment, because we tend to be grateful for those people who gave us a chance.
Absolutely. You can just hire a lot of seniors. As I mentioned before, we're living in the reality of IT people shortage. So there are no ways to hire a lot of seniors. But do you have any mentorship programs at Shopify? Do you hire a junior developer and you have, a senior developer and senior developer mentoring new junior developer?
Yeah, depending on the needs of everyone, there is different programs of mentorship.
Great. The next question, I don't really like the phrase itself, but the question is very interesting. What is the most important for company culture, hard skills or soft skills?
I don't like to call them soft skills. I like to call them essential or not technical skills. And I think they are both important. They are both similarly important. They don't overlap each other. They complement each other. So I think it's useful to invest in both. You can be really nice, but not do the job, not get the job done. Or you can get the job done, but not be able to collaborate with everyone in your team. So both are important, equally important.
Okay, I know this might be not the greatest question I could came up with, but do you have at Shopify any developers with terrible soft skills?
I haven't met any yet.
Yeah, probably that's why Shopify is a good place to work. So next question would be, how do you communicate in your company with people of your team who works in a different UTC time zone?
Yes, there is always improvement to be there. To be honest, we haven't figured out everything, and we are always looking for improvement. But there is a lot of asynchronous communication that happens. I think from being in the office, I was working in a previous company here in Canada as well, and I was going every day to the company, meeting with my colleagues, talking about topics next to each other in a whiteboard, and then go back to our desk and then go for lunch and continue working, talking about work. It was a different, a different time. But now with this, with Shopify that we are Meetup by design, I have learned how to communicate asynchronous. So some of the things that we do is communicate through documents. You can have, if you need to take a technical decision, for example, and if you were in a real life office, you will go to a whiteboard and bring your engineers to talk about it. But you can also do in a synchronous way, creating an RFC. I don't know if everyone is familiar with an RFC is ready for comments. So you can make a proposal and then people comment and everyone gets feedback and you get everyone's point of view about that problem and you can get the best solution of that. Of course, it's not going to be faster, but it's also these pros and cons because it's not going to be faster, but also it gives time to people to think and resonate about that. Sometimes I see a document and I don't have an idea yet, but then I go to cook or walk my dog and then come back. It's like, oh, I didn't think about it, but I have something to add to that. So I think it depends on the culture, but yeah, there is ways to do it for sure.
Yeah. Well, almost the same here. So next question would be about the Ruby itself. Web development is quite a big arena, and there are a lot of rivals to Ruby, like Golang, like Elixir, like PHP, like Python, etc., etc., etc. So, do you think that Ruby right now is developing fast enough to keep up with those rivals?
I think yes. And I think I say yes based on what Ruby is used for and what the community is looking for. Like if you see what we are trying to do with Ruby, at the beginning, like I have been working on Ruby since Ruby 1 point something. And at the beginning, there was a lot of changes that were disruptive. So every time you do an upgrade, there was a lot of things that break and a lot of things that change the syntax. And right now, Ruby is used for very big tech. So it's not that disruptive changes that are released. So it's better. It has been changing in a way that is becoming more enterprise, and the releases are more aware of how to make that transition slowly. So there are smaller releases to change things instead of doing just one big change. And that happened as well with this new Ruby 3 that was launched. A lot of people were saying, oh, it's going to be 3 times faster, but they were thinking it will be 3 times faster than Ruby 2.7.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like, that is insane. There's no way you can change a language that fast so quickly. But what Matt was referring to, he was pointing to make it 3 times faster than Ruby 2.0. And what was done was being upgraded slowly into smaller versions on 2.0 until we get close to 3 and the version of Ruby 3, and you will see those changes slowly, incrementally changes.
Yep. Can't agree more. Totally can't agree more. So, chat, we're slowly running out of time, so you can ask a couple of questions, I guess. So, one of the last questions would be, what is the most popular IDE in the Shopify?
I think it's VS Code. I think it's in general, not only in Shopify, but in general. Like I have seen like a tendency of VS Code being the most popular these days.
Yeah, thanks. And there is quite a question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you use mJIT or, JIT, Ruby JIT in production?
Not yet, but we will get there.
Yeah, that's quite good decision as far as I'm concerned. So guys, chat, it's last questions. Come on. So while waiting for the chat, I'll ask, what language would you pick in case of Ruby death? You know, like Ruby sudden death, I don't know. What language would you pick instead?
It's a very tricky question.
Yep.
I think there are many good language. Like last year, I was playing a little bit with Rust, so probably I will explore that one. Or if I need to get something very done really quickly, I probably will switch just to Python because it's very similar to Ruby.
Yeah,
in some sense.
Yeah, Python really resembles Ruby, and I don't know. Nobody asked me, but I'll answer anyways. That for me it will be Golang because it's fun. Sometimes not that fun. Okay, so I guess that's it. Stella, can you pick one question that was the most interesting for you, and we will grant some sort of present for its author. I can remind you a short list of questions.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
So it was about Shopify 2021 developer. It was about how many Ruby developers works in Shopify. It was about Shopify contribution to open source. There was one about junior developers. There was about future that Ruby have in the world of graphic applications. There was about hard skills versus soft skills, about how do you communicate with other people of your team who work and live in different UTC time zones. It was about the most popular IDE and Ruby JIT.
I think the soft skills
versus hard.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
All right, so
very important to know.
All right, so the author will receive a little present from СберМаркет. Anyway, Stella, thank you so much for visiting our meetup. It was really fun to have a chat with you, to ask some questions, and it was great. Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.